Hi guys, today we're going to be doing this page tier transition that looks ultra realistic to a certain extent, yeah? You like what you see? Let's get to it! Let's go to the media pool. I pulled in some footage from pexels.com, link in the description. Let's delete the audio, we don't need that. Let's trim this to create space for a transition. Let's pull them back together. And then let's go to effects, bring in cross dissolve, put it on there. Let's click on this and open inspector. Increase the duration to, let's say, 3 seconds. Then right click on this and convert it to Fusion cross dissolve. Right click on it again and open it in Fusion page. If you open it and it doesn't open like this, just go back to the edit page, right click on it and open it again in Fusion page to open correctly. Delete cross dissolve, click on this when it turns blue to disconnect that. Let's bring media in 2 down, move media in 1 up. Let's bring in a mask, rectangular mask node. Drag that to the right viewer. Let's drag this down to create some space to see what we're doing. Let's open the inspector panel. Still rectangle mask highlighted. With the rectangle mask highlighted, the width, let's make it 1.2. Then the height, let's make it 1. And I want this mask to just be the half of this frame. So I'm just going to go here. The center Y value, set that to 0. So it's at the half point. Let's bring in the transform node, connect the output of the rectangle mask 1 to the yellow input of the transform 1. Drag that to the viewer, to the right viewer. If you now go to the angle, you see that we can rotate that all around there. Cool. Double click on that to reset it. We're done with this. Now I don't want the edges to be this smooth so that it looks like paper at the edge. So I'm going to bring in Shift spacebar. I'm going to bring in displace. Then to drive the displace, I'm going to bring in a fast noise node. Let's drag that to the left viewer. Under the fast noise on the inspector, go to the color tab, increase alpha to 1, go to noise, set the contrast to 1.5. The detail, let's drag it to 10. Then let's scale, let's put it at 2.5. Now connect this to the orange, to the green input of the displace and connect the output of this transform to the orange input of the displace. Connect that to the orange input. Yeah. We drag this to the viewer now. We see nothing has happened. We click on displace, go to inspector, change the type to XY. Now go to X refraction, set that to 0.125. And Y refraction, set this to 0.1. So we see we have this jagged edge thing. Now this output here, let's bring in another transform, connect this to this transform. And I want to go to this transform and increase this size to 1.1. I figured I needed to do this for some other reason, but let's just move on. Now we're done with this. Let's bring in a matte control node, Shift spacebar, matte. Not mask cleaner, matte control. Click on that, click on add, pull that in here. Right click on the output of transform 2, drop it on matte control and connect it to garbage matte. On the matte control, go to garbage matte, then click on invert. Now we need to give an input to the matte control. So we drag media in 1 and connect it to the orange input of the matte control. Drag this to the left viewer. So we have that masking that. So I want to create some jagged edges to indicate paper. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in and copy this fast noise, for example. Let's copy this, paste that here. The only thing I will change inside this fast noise node, I'm going to change the C to 0.185. That's the only thing I'm going to change. I'm going to copy the same displace, paste that in here. Connect the output of the fast noise to the green input of the displace. Then I'm going to go and drag this here, the transform here. I'm going to drag that into this displace. So we have that connected to that. Let's drag this here. If we drag this to the right viewer, we have that going. So we want to place this now on top of this. Now, before we place this on top of this, I want to move this up a little bit. So I'm going to bring in a transform node, connect this displace to this transform, drag this transform to the right viewer. Let's increase this by, let's say just at 2.5, so it becomes 0.525 on the y-axis. So now I want to place this on top of this. First, we bring in a background node, set the color to white. Okay, connect this output here to the mask input of the background node. Then bring in a merge node. Make this the foreground. And then we connect this to the background. So we drag this to the viewer. You see we have the paper-like edge here. Now that's done for the lower part. Now for the upper part, we're going to bring in another matte control node, shift spacebar, matte control. But I'm going to right click on it from the output and drop it on here and connect to the garbage matte here. Note that when we're doing this first matte control, we inverted the garbage matte. For the second one, we won't invert it, we'll leave it uninverted, right? Then let's arrange this so you can see clearly what we're doing. Let's move this back a bit, like so. And let's move this back like so, like that. So we have this, so it's clear what we're doing. Now for this matte control, it needs an input. The input, I'm going to drag this media in one as the input here. Let's just drag that down here. Let's hold down Alt on the keyboard to create a pipe node so it looks better, like so. So I just hold down Alt and click on the line, then it creates this pipe router. We call it pipe router. So now if we drag this to the left viewer, we see we have the upper part, right? Now I want to create, I want the back of this to have this whitish edge here, right? So what I'm going to do, this one will connect to an image plane. Let's just note that for now. This connects to an image plane. We're going to also bring an image plane for this second one. But you'll note that if we put this image plane here and put this on the right viewer, you see that if you hold down Alt on the keyboard and drag this to look at the back, see it's just so. But I want the back of this to be plain. Then I want the back of this one, I want to now have that white thing at the edge of it. So to do this too, let's focus on the first one. The first one being this one here. I want the back of it to just be plain. So I'm going to go and create an image plane, bring another image plane. Now this image plane will be driven by, if you go here and drag this here, so we have this. I'm going to bring in a matte control. Sorry, this is going to look a little rough, but I'll arrange it after, I guess. Then let's connect this media in one and connect it to the matte control. And then this here, I'm going to right click on it, drop it on here and connect this to the garbage matte. Go to this matte control and set this garbage matte to invert. Then I'm going to connect this. I'm going to connect this to this image plane. We have this image plane here. So this will form the back of this one. So I'm going to bring in a merge node here, merge 3D node, connect both of them together. Connect this to that. And because this is going to be at the back, so what I'm going to do for both of these image planes is this. I'm going to go to this first image plane. I will go to visibility. I'll say you should call the back, so you shouldn't show the back. Then I'm going to go to this one. Visibility, I'm going to say call front. So if we now go to this image plane, I drag this merge 3D here and I hold down Alt and drag it and move back. You see we have that. Cool. So now we are on our way. We've done the first one. Okay, so we drag this to the right viewer I want the back of this image plane to have the white thing. So I'm going to go, let's pull this one down here. I'm going to bring in a merge node. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in the output of this transform, connect to the background here. And the output of this transform, I'm going to connect that to this merge 2, drag that to the left viewer. Now for this merge 2, we go under operator, we click on held out. So we see this edge here. We connect this to an image plane, like so. Then we bring in a merge 3D node and connect these together. Now this, I'm going to go to transform and move it back a little bit. So I'm going to put minus 0.0001. If we now go drag this to viewer, hold down Alt and move it around, you see this at the back of it. So we have our 2 tiers ready. So to move it around, we bring in a transform node, transform 3D node. We bring in a bend 3D node, bend the 3D node. Then shift spacebar, we bring in another transform 3D node. This same setup here, we're going to copy, then paste it here. Right click and paste. Connect. Let's move this down here. Connect that. Let's move this up a bit. Drag this down. So you have both of them. Now to start with this one, let's bring this to the viewer. Let's make it a single viewer for now. See what we're working with. Now just to conserve space, I'm just going to move this around a little bit, like so. Same thing for this one. Okay, so now for this first transform, I'm going to set the Z value angle to Z rotation to minus 30. Then this second transform, I'm going to set this to 30. The reason why I'm doing this is because I want to bend this thing at an angle. So I do the same thing for this, but the other way around. So this will become 30. And then the next one will become minus 30. Okay, so let's focus on this one first. Go to Blender 3D. Let's set this value to 1.5. And then the center to 0. So if we go here, you see it peel off like so. Let's set this to 1. I don't want it to fold so much. So it goes like so. But it doesn't go off completely. So we need to now make this go to minus 0.175. And you see it completely move off, right? So I'm going to go to this, right click on this, modify with. So this one goes from what? From 1 to 0. Right click on this, modify with anim curves. Now this is the lower one, right? So this happens after the upper one happens. So I'm going to go here, set this to ease in, set this to sine, and then the scale will be -1. It starts from 1, then it goes from 1 to 0, right? Then we go here, this starts the time scale, let's set this to 2, and this starts at 0.35. Okay, so if we play this, it starts from around here. If we play this now, you see that it goes like so. But I don't want it to do that movement it's doing. It's because center is set at minus 0.175. I want this center value to start working from the point where it gets to, when it folds up completely. That's at this point is when I want the center to kick in. So I'm going to right click on center, modify with anim curves, go to modifiers, set this to 0, I set this to minus 0.175. I want this to be like 5, this time scale to be 5, and then the offset, I want it to be 0.35. So if we play back, still too fast. So I'm going to set this to 0.5 actually. Let's see how that goes. Okay, so I think I set it to 0.6, so we're fine. That works well. That works well. So if we put at 0.65, I think it works even better. Side. We move on like so. Moves on. Cool. So now we are done with this upper one. So we do the lower one. Let's drag this to the viewer. Let's go to Bender. Let's see what happens if I move this around. Let's set this to 1.5 and just 1. Right, so it goes like so. So that's where I want it to go. So I'm going to right click on this minimum value, modify with anim curves. Go to modifiers. Set this to -1. Set this to 1. Set the easing to sine. And the time scale to 2. We leave the time offset to 0. Let me go back to tools, right click on center. Same thing we did for the other one, we'll do it for this one. Anim curves, modifiers, set this to easing, set this to sine. We leave this as none. Then I'm going to set this to 0. Then this will be minus 0.175. And then this dot is also 5. And then this dot's around 0.35. So if we play this now, good. So it feels well. Now we merge both of them on top of each other. So let's bring in a merge node. Connect this to this merge node, merge 3D node, connect this to this merge 3D node and pull this into the viewer. Let's go to the first frame. You'll see that this needs to move to the front or move this one to the back. So I'm going to go to this first one here. I'm just going to move it to the back a bit. Minus 0.0001. So it sits perfectly. And then what I'm going to do for this, I'm going to set the Z value to 1.321. This is so that I can just bring in a renderer 3D node, connect this to the renderer 3D node, go to the renderer 3D node, select OpenGL renderer. If we now drag this to the viewer, we'll see everything is arranged perfectly. And guys, we essentially have the animation. If I play it now, okay, so you see that this lower one, this point, it started too fast, and that's because of the center. So I go to this Blender 3D, we're going to go to center. We're going to increase this value to 0.7. Good. So now we put this, we bring in a merge node, connect this to the foreground of this merge node, drag this down here, then media into, let's connect media into to this foreground, to the background of this merge node, and connect this to media out. Let's drag this to the viewer and let's play it out. And there it is, guys. HDR transition on steroids. All right, that's it, guys. If you like this transition, I've put a link to download it in the description. I upgraded it a little bit, put a little bulge in the animation, put some other effect on it to make it a little flexible. So you can rotate it around and make it tear at different axes. Right now it's horizontal. You can make it vertical. You can make it at an angle and all. And have fun with it. Thanks for watching. Take care. See you on the next one. Cheers.